past their bedtimes. Welcome to the Irv Homer Show. It is Wednesday, December the 10th, 15 days before the big fat man comes down the chimney. And we do this program Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night at 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. After the first of the year, we'll be changing it to more in the early part of the day. And we'll inform you as to when and why. And we're broadcasting from irvhomer.com. My website is www.irvhomer.com. You can email me at evilirv@irvhomer.com. And we have a chat room if you want to get on board and ask any questions or make a statement. And if the statement has merit, I will read it on the air. And our telephone number, if you care to call in, is 215-253-8877. Once again, this program is through the courtesy of Irv Homer and Ron, who is my producer and puts this program together both technologically and does the producing and gets the guests. Not affiliated. He is not affiliated with any other person or news media other than this particular format. Let that be known. Anyone making charges that he is associated with anyone else could be prosecuted. So I would suggest that anyone who wants to play games with internet and with using names of mine or his, be aware of the fact that I do not consider it to be funny. I don't believe in pranks when things like this magnitude arise. So a word to the wise should be sufficient. This program is dedicated to a different point of view and different perspective and critical of the media and critical of people. And I do it out of my own conviction. It is my beliefs. It is the thing that's managed to sustain me through my life. And hopefully will enlighten you, as I receive many, many emails from folks who say, Irv, over the years I've listened to you and found out that if I follow your advice, I'm pretty well knowledgeable as to what's going on. Now, I don't give advice. I just merely offer my opinions and what has been successful for me. And the worst thing I wish on any of my listeners or viewers over the years, whether it be on WEEZ, WWDB, WBCB, or this format here, is that you all end up as successful and as well organized as I am. You may not end up being a multi-millionaire, but you won't be poor. You'll be able to understand how money works, the dangers of extravagance, how to put pride aside, how to ask for help when you need it. Don't trust anyone unless they prove that they are worthy of your trust. It goes for family, friends, relatives, anyone. Trust is something like interest. It must be earned. And once a person earns your trust, then you trust them. And until you can have people trust you, don't expect gratification or love or understanding, because your name and your trust and your values and your morals are more important than a lot of money. Be that said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to sound like a preacher or a philosopher or a psychiatrist, but most of us know the things we do are wrong, and sometimes we need professional help, and I've searched out professional help all my life from people who I trust, people I know, and it has worked out very successful for me, and people that I've recommended to follow me in areas in which they may be confused, they may be in debt. It usually works out for their benefit. The fact of the matter is I don't know of any who have failed. So that being said, I would like to voice some opinions and, of course, invite you to participate on our chat room and on our telephone line at 215-253-8877. 215-253-8877, and our chat room is available for your questions and comments. We have a phone call. Okay, we will go to the telephones right off the bat. Hello there. Who are you? Welcome. Well, that sounds good. I'm glad your plumbing works.
Yeah, we know who that was.
Well, whoever it may be, if that gets their jollies, good for them. I've had that all my life. Toilets flushing, people belching, breaking wind, imitating. I mean, my answer to things like that are, it is very important, ladies and gentlemen, to support mental health. Very important. I know there's a lot of charities out there, but it is extremely important to support mental health. There is a crisis now that has arisen in the state of Illinois where the governor has been arrested and allegations and accusations have been made implicating Jesse Jackson Jr. Not implicating, but they use a new phrase now, persons of interest. And I've heard such criticism today across the dials of convicting Jesse Jackson Jr., who was a congressman in Illinois, the likes of which I haven't seen since the days of Joe McCarthy or the days of Joseph Goebbels in Germany. Trouble with Jesse Jackson is his father. His father, a leader of the civil rights movement, Jesse Jackson, has made a lot of enemies along the way and has done a lot of things that I didn't approve of. But by and large, Jesse Jackson and others in the black community, even Louis Farrakhan, have done their best to bring pride to black America. Some it stuck to, some it didn't. But the people's choice in Illinois was to elect Jesse Jackson Jr. to be a congressman. And apparently the governor, I'll just call him Blago, as Blagovich or something like that, had him listed as one of the 5 people to replace Barack Obama as United States Senator from the state of Illinois. And the criticism and the accusations and the badgering of Jesse Jackson Jr., whose name was merely mentioned as the 5th possible candidate to be appointed senator from the state of Illinois to replace Barack Obama, is absolutely revolting. You will see it in the newspapers, but if you're a talk show freak as I am, you will have heard it across the dials today, in which he has already been convicted of pay for play. He's been convicted in the press of being wired while conducting interviews with the governor. And it is absolutely revolting to me as an American who believes in American justice and the things that I was taught when I was in school, that you're innocent until proven guilty. It's a damn hard thing to do, and I know it is. And I know many of you folks out there have accused people of being guilty of something because they've been charged or they've been people of interest. And with the high crime rate that we have in America, the murders, the automobile accidents, the DUIs, all those things, it's very difficult to believe in a standard of justice that we have in the United States that you don't find anywhere else in the world, including the governor of Illinois, who was alleged to have asked for $500,000 from various people to be appointed United States Senator to replace President-elect Barack Obama. If any of the names mentioned by the bloviators today and the press are guilty after they've been tried in a court of their peers and the government has the evidence against them, then prosecute them to the full extent of the law, making no difference who their fathers were, what their names are. But damn it, if they're innocent, It is going to be extremely difficult to clear your name when you get these damn right-wing nutcases and left-wing screwballs condemning and criticizing people who have never been tried yet and have never been convicted of anything. And I hope that the genius of the American people, which sometimes I question, journalists, people on talk radio, people on talk television, will have enough courage to stand up for those who are innocent until they are proven guilty. Was Jesse Jackson white? He must have been white because look at what his father did. His father led a boycott. His father was a shakedown artist. His father was blackmailing companies. None of the things that Jesse Jackson has been accused of has he ever been prosecuted for. Not even prosecuted for birthing an illegitimate child, which is not used today because that's politically incorrect. And why am I so outraged about innocent people who may be guilty of a crime being torn apart in the news media? And I do it because in my career as a broadcaster of visibility and some popularity in the Philadelphia market, and I must say around the country, I was listed as one of the 100 most influential talk show hosts in the country. I don't think now that I'm not on commercial radio, with the exception of WBCB in Levittown, Pennsylvania, but I've lost my credibility as being one of the best in the country. I've received many emails, letters prior to emails, and voice messages, meeting with attorneys whose clients were perfectly innocent, but destroyed by the press, by talk radio hosts, and to this day have never gotten their good names back. If you remember, in Philadelphia, Mayor John Street's office was bugged by the FBI. Undetected. Whatever happened to that investigation? 2 men went to jail. But not as a result of anything they found in Mayor John Street's office. And who discovered the bug in John Street's office but the son of the police commissioner, who happened to be an FBI agent? John Street was not guilty of anything, yet they bugged his office. I received information this week from an acquaintance who remembers when I appeared as a guest speaker at a synagogue where Mayor Ed Rendell was speaking before me. When he was there extolling the virtues of his Judaism. I was involved at that time in freeing Neil Ferber from death row in Graterford Prison. Ed Rendell knew that Neil Ferber did not kill Steve Boris, the head of the Greek mob in Philadelphia. And so me, with my big mouth, I couldn't keep it shut, and I got up there and I addressed the congregation of this synagogue. And the woman that a friend of mine was talking to said, "Oh, they asked Irv to leave the stage." And I was proud of it, because the governor of the state of Pennsylvania, Ed Rendell, had an innocent man on death row, and he knew it. The daughter of this man committed suicide because his father was on death. Her father was on death row. It cost his family $500,000 in legal fees that they could ill afford. It cost the taxpayers of Philadelphia $1,300,000 for false imprisonment. And Boobas, Pennsylvania, elected him governor of the state of Pennsylvania. Now, to some of you folks, you may think that's a joke. To some of you folks, you may think, so what? Well, would you like to be falsely accused by a politically ambitious district attorney and have your child incarcerated, tried, and convicted with false evidence, false testimony from police officers, taking the word of jailhouse snitches, making a deal with a jailhouse snitch to overturn convictions that this guy had? That's why I'm outraged over what is going on in the state of Illinois. As I was outraged when charges were made against President Nixon, until such time it was proven that he was complicit in the Watergate break-in. People were criticizing me on the air. Well, I don't know anything about Richard Nixon other than charges that have been made by those who were caught at the Watergate. And I will fight to my death on radio, television, or whatever outlet I have to protect the innocent until they are proven guilty. And listening to, I think it was C-SPAN this afternoon, when they reviewed the case of O.J. Simpson, and claiming that O.J. Simpson was found innocent. No, O.J. Simpson was not found innocent. On the Lynn Doyle program it was. And some attorney that had a red beard, an African American with a, I don't know, a Shabazz something or other, keeps yelling he was found not guilty, he was found not guilty. Not guilty, ladies and gentlemen, does not mean that that you didn't commit the crime. Not guilty merely means that the state could not convince the jury with enough evidence that the person committed the crime. So if the defense attorneys are better than the prosecutor and can instill the reasonable doubt in a criminal case, a murderer can get off scot-free with a not guilty verdict. Does not mean they cannot commit the crime. It merely means that the court could not produce enough evidence and present it in such a way that the jury found that person not guilty. And yet, all during the Lynn Doyle program that I watched this afternoon, I kept hearing, well, he's not guilty, he wasn't guilty, he wasn't guilty, he wasn't guilty. Doesn't mean a damn thing. The ignorance of the American people and the people that are on radio and television today is one of the reasons that the country is in the position it is in today. Not because of crime on the street, not because of tech stocks, not because of derivatives, because of ignorance. And we have an ignorant society. And And there isn't a hell of a lot we can do about it until the country collapses, which it is on its way to do. Eventually, the ignorance of the masses of America to protect the freedom that we have and to understand it is going to be the cause of the demise of this country, and it is occurring as we speak. So in closing, I know it's extremely difficult to believe a person is innocent until proven guilty. But just pray to your good Lord that you are never accused of anything that you didn't do, and let the press get a hold of it. Okay? I'm Irv Homer. We're broadcasting from irvhomer.com. Our website is www.irvhomer.com. Email at evilirv@irvhomer.com. We welcome your email and your participation. To our chat room we go when the same individuals who question Obama's and Jackson's credibility call for a war crimes investigation of George W. Bush, they will have some credibility. Art G. in Philadelphia. Under the War Crimes Act, Art, as far as I know, there has to be a motive. And the motive may be of criminality, where the person intentionally, or people intentionally, killed innocent people knowing that what they did, they knew was wrong. And it will take a little research going back to the Nuremberg war crimes trials in Germany, under which the Nuremberg trials were held and their war crimes were imposed on the head of the Third Reich, as to whether or not the intent of George W. Bush, our present president, and Rumsfeld and Cheney knew without reservations and could be proven in the World Court that they attacked Iraq and Afghanistan with full knowledge that those countries were not responsible for 9/11 or for their declaration of war against Iraq and Afghanistan, of which there was no declaration. And you can't have a war crimes investigation of George W. Bush, Art, because the cowardly Congress and Senate approved of the president's actions. So if you're going to try the president for war crimes, you're going to have to try every congressman and senator in the United States for being complicit in those war crimes, with the exception of one African-American female congressman and Barack Obama, who did not approve of the war, which is not a war. I don't have any idea what it's called. Bob from Memphis says, can Rendell be sued in civil court for his false accusation? Rendell has been sued as a part and parcel of the false arrest in the performance of his duty and the victim was awarded $4 million as a result of Ed Rendell's blatant incarceration and prosecution and false arrest of the victim. The mayor was elected by the people to represent the people, so the people of Philadelphia, after a judge reversed the $4 million award, reduced it to $1,400,000, That was the civil case that was filed against Ed Rendell and the city of Philadelphia in civil court. So Rendell was found guilty, and the people of Philadelphia paid for it and re-elected him governor anyway. Our next question on the chat room is, Irv, do you find a suspect that Jesse Jackson's son convicted the governor in his press conference and asked him to step down before he has been tried? It's extremely difficult, Bill, until all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted in the original affidavit that the U.S. Attorney has brought this case to light. There was a lot of things that are suspect. Was he complicit? Is there suspicion that Jesse Jackson was wired? His son was wired? I don't know. So I would venture to say, before I would make and shoot from the hip any accusations, until more information is available, all things are possible, and all things in this case are impossible. I just want it to be known that innocent people get accused of a lot of things that they didn't do. Our telephone number is 215-253-8877. This portion of the program was brought to you on the premise that don't convict anyone until they are found guilty. Our press, our media, and I'm happy to say that in my career I have never done it, where I accuse people of doing things just because there was a feeding frenzy by the media. I've been criticized for it. I've been condemned for it. But I've never been found wrong. I'd like to go into a situation. Our chat board is open and the phones are available. And I hope our first caller called the plumber. But we don't want a leaky toilet all over Bucks County. We have an idea where the call originated from, so have fun. A Navy plane, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately crashed in San Diego while making a landing at the Marine Corps base at Miramar, California. And the question is, as presented on one of the Bloviators programs today, that someone should pay for the death of the 4 people. A mother, a daughter, 2 children were killed as a result of this naval aircraft crashing and the pilot safely ejected. Very rare that an F-15, I believe it was, that both engines flame out at the same time. But in technical things that you play with, the toys we play with, there can be malfunctions. And this genius, Dennis Prager, who enjoys his self-aggrandizement, if you don't believe it, just ask him, he'll tell you how wonderful he is and how brilliant he is, all afternoon was speaking about someone must pay for the death of innocent people. Should the pilot have taken the plane down and died gloriously while it crashed and killed the 4 innocent people in San Diego? Was it the engineers that worked on that plane? Was it the crew chief? Was it the airplane manufacturer? Who was it? But we cannot take innocent lives without someone paying for it. Financial compensation will not be adequate compensation for the death of innocent people. And I would tend to agree with him. However, you ever see the bumper sticker that says shit happens? Well, that's what happened there. So on today's program on WBCB Radio, I introduced the subject. As outraged I was with Dennis Prager for his ignorance, demanding that there be a price to be paid for innocent people losing their lives. Well, by most of the calls I received today, it's perfectly all right for innocent people to die if the cause is just. Sometimes we refer to it as collateral damage. Collateral damage. That means you as an innocent person can die in a gun battle on the street if the police are engaged in a shootout with criminals and you happen to be killed. You're in its collateral damage. Can you hold the police officer responsible? Why? You want to charge the police officer for shooting at a criminal and you walked in front of the bullet? This Prager has got to be the most ignorant son of a bitch that ever sat behind a microphone. Now, for those of you who have served in combat, in any capacity whatsoever, and I constantly hear, well, I served in Iraq and I served in Afghanistan. Were you in the front line? Were you shooting at somebody? Were they shooting at you? Don't tell me you were there. What the hell were you doing there? If you were shooting and being shot at, you were in Afghanistan, Iraq. If your ass was sitting behind the green line in some secretary capacity or serving food, keep your mouth shut. The guys that have to kill and attempt to be killed, they're the ones that know what it's like to kill innocent people. And I've mentioned in my career that I must have killed thousands of innocent people. By definition of the law, I am a murderer. I killed thousands of people. I don't know how many tons of bombs I've dropped on innocent people in Austria and Hungary and in Germany. I don't know. But I know damn right well I killed innocent babies, pregnant women, clergy people, women, old men, old ladies, people in wheelchairs, people in infirmities, insane people. I killed them all. And they were innocent. They didn't do a damn thing to me. And those in the German army during World War II and those in the Japanese army also killed innocent people. And you get medals for it. We get medals for killing innocent people around the world, both our enemies and their enemies. So what is the price that we pay for killing innocent people? Stupid Prager. Was your ass ever in the military killing somebody or being killed? Never speaks about his combat experience or having anyone on the air who was guilty of his someone must pay the price for killing innocent people. Now, am I a criminal? Are other men that flew airplanes as I did in the 8th Air Force, 15th Air Force, 9th Air Force, 5th Air Force, are we all criminals because we killed thousands of innocent people? Mr. Prager? Now, the difference between the Air Force killing innocent people and the ground forces killing innocent people is that if the ground troops like the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, short memory, folks, or the 5 Marines that were tried recently for killing innocent civilians on the ground. They were tried for killing innocent civilians. Yet the pilots and the fighter crews that were bombing Afghanistan and Iraq were killing thousands of innocent people. They're not charged with anything. So the difference between those in the Air Force that kill innocent people and get medals for it, and our great ground troops who kill innocent people get prosecuted, there's a little bit of hypocrisy there, isn't there? And the last call that I received on today's program was, we dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan, and if it wouldn't been for the fact that we killed over 300,000 Japanese, they would have killed 100,000 Americans when we invaded Japan. Does that make it right? When we as human beings around the world recognize human life and its value, maybe we'll stop killing innocent people. So stupid-ass Dennis Prager, for those of you who listen to him, and he has a very small audience, his ratings don't even reflect, I think the test pattern on a television station shows more ratings than him. Until you learn what the hell you're talking about on radio, please get the hell off. And any advertiser who advertises with that moron is as stupid as he is, and the products you sell are probably as lousy. Would you like to prosecute that Navy pilot, Mr. Prager? When the hell's the last time you were in an airplane and both engines conked out and you had a chance to eject and save yourself? Ladies and gentlemen, we're in trouble. Our media to the left and to the right stinks so bad. And Boobus America is so damn dumb by following these morons and making a big issue out of something that until it's adjudicated, innocent people are being destroyed without being killed. Our telephone number, 215-253-8877. Why is the USA Congress not blocking communist China from opening banks in the USA? I wrote Marsha Blackburn, but she still thinks the banking industry can be saved with capital gains tax. I don't know what the two have together, but my question is, why shouldn't China open banks in the United States? I see no reason. We have banks in China. We have banks in Hong Kong. Chase Bank in Shanghai has its own airport, has its own hospital. The banking industry is not going to be saved with a capital gains tax or anything else. The banking industry in America is only going to be saved with honest money. And I may sound like a preacher, and I may sound like Ron Paul, and I may sound like Harry Brown, rest his soul, but you can't have honest government and honest banking with fake money. When the hell are you going to learn that, Bob from Memphis? Since the Federal Reserve Act has been incorporated in the United States, there is no money. There are notes of debt, promissory notes to be redeemed for debts, public and private. It is not money. And when you have false money, you have a false economy. You have a constant situation of propping up the economy with recessions, depressions, inflation, deflation, stagnation. And so all of the suggestions that are being made today are merely suggestions on how to cover up the fact that the United States has no currency of its own and uses debt as a means of exchange. You can't redeem a Federal Reserve note for anything of any intrinsic value. And all of these questions, my dear friend Bob from Memphis and other people, unless the United States people, we the people, take back the power of coining and regulating our own money where there's an intrinsic value backing it, there is nothing that Marsha Blackburn, Alan Greenspan, George Bush, Barack Obama, Barney Frank, Chris Dodd, no one can establish a viable financial institution because you're dealing with fake money. You're dealing with currency that was born in debt and carries debt with it until its very end. The reason we're in the credit crunch today, one of the reasons, and I'll expand on it a little bit. After World War II, the working salaries of people, middle class people, matched the cost of living. As the cost of living went up, their salaries went proportionally up. Talk about middle class. Got to a point where the rich boys in America said that's not good enough. We want to make more money. We want to go over and above the cost of living. The labor force in America, through a conspiracy of government and big industry, got together and said, look, for those people to maintain their standard of living, we'll do a couple things. First of all, we'll get women to work. Married women to work.